Good evening. Welcome to this sacred space. We're grateful that you've chosen to walk this difficult part of the Lenten journey with us. As we prepare our hearts for this service, a few brief notes for your comfort and the sanctity of our time together. The restrooms are located down the hallway to the left as you exit the sanctuary, and we ask that you please silence all mobile phones and electronic devices now, as silence is one of the primary characters in our liturgy tonight. Good Friday is the somber heart of the Christian year. It's the day that we stand at the foot of the cross and witness the train wreck of human history. The moment where systemic hate, political convenience, and religious exclusion collided with the perfect love of God. We don't call it good because the suffering was easy, but because God's refusal to abandon us, even in death, is the ultimate definition of goodness. The word tenebrae is Latin for shadows or darkness. This service is an ancient tradition of the church, characterized by the gradual extinguishing of the candles as we move through the narrative of Christ's passion. As the light fades, we're invited to feel the weight of a world that chooses darkness over light. And we follow Jesus from the backroom deals of the boardroom to the isolation of the tomb. And when the final candle is extinguished and the strepitus, the loud thud at the end, sounds, it represents the closing of the tomb and the apparent victory over death. And tonight we ask that you depart in total silence after the bell tolls 33 times. Carry those shadows with you tonight until we gather again to see what the morning brings. We call it a train wreck. It's that horrific magnetic pull of watching something go wrong when you can see the physics of the disaster before it hits. Good Friday is the ultimate train wreck. Tonight we observe the wreckage of a system that chose ego over empathy and power over person. The festival of unleavened bread, which is called Passover, was approaching. The chief priests and the legal experts were looking for a way to kill Jesus because they were afraid of the people. Then Satan entered Judas, called Iscariot, who was one of the 12. He went out and discussed with the chief priests and the officers of the temple guard how he could hand Jesus over to them. They were delighted and arranged payment for him. He agreed and began looking for an opportunity to hand Jesus over to them, a time when the crowds would be absent. Jesus left and made his way to the Mount of Olives, as was his custom, and the disciples followed him. When he arrived, he said to them, "Pray that you don't give in to temptation." He withdrew for them about a stone's throw and knelt down and prayed. He said, "Father, if it's your will, take this cup of suffering away from me. However, not my will, but your will must be done." Then a heavenly angel appeared to him and strengthened him. He was in anguish and prayed even more earnestly. His sweat became like drops of blood falling on the ground. And when he got up from praying, he went to the disciples, and he found them asleep. Overcome by grief, he said to them, "Why are you sleeping? Get up and pray so that you won't give in to temptation."
The wreck starts in the boardroom. It starts when human lives, the immigrant, the child, the stranger, are traded for political delight. We see the speed of the train in policies that target the vulnerable. Jesus sees the impact coming. He sweats blood, yet he stays on the tracks. He chooses the will of love over the will of survival.
While Jesus was still speaking, a crowd appeared, and the one who was called Judas, one of the 12, was leading them. He approached Jesus to kiss him. Jesus said to him, "Judas, you would betray the human one with a kiss?" When those around him recognized what was about to happen, they said, "Lord, should we fight with our swords?" One of them struck the high priest's servant, cutting off his ear. Jesus responded, "Stop. No more of this." He touched the slave's ear and healed him. Meanwhile, Peter was sitting outside in the courtyard. A servant woman came to him and said to him, "You are also with Jesus the Galilean." But he denied it in front of all of them, saying, "I don't know what you're talking about." When he went over to the gate, another woman saw him and said to those people who were there, "This man was with Jesus, the man from Nazareth." With a solemn pledge, he denied it again, saying, "I don't know the man." A short time later, those standing there came and said to Peter, "You must be one of them. The way you talk gives it away." Then he cursed and swore, "I don't know the man." And at that very moment, the rooster crowed. Peter remembered Jesus' words, "Before the rooster crows, you'll deny me 3 times." And Peter went out and cried uncontrollably.
The collision is fueled by our own distance. Like Peter, we see the climate of hate and we say, "I don't know him." We distance ourselves from our religious duty to help because the swords and clubs of the state are intimidating. We want to strike out in anger, but Jesus says, "No more." He heals the servant of his enemy while his friends abandon him. The brakes are locked. The sparks are flying.
As morning came, the elders of the people, both chief priests and legal experts, came together, and Jesus was brought before their council. They said, "If you're the Christ, tell us." He answered, "If I tell you, you won't believe. And if I ask you a question, you won't answer. But from now on, the human one will be seated on the right side of the power of God." They all said, "Are you God's son then?" His reply was, "You say that I am." Then they said, "Why do we need further testimony? We've heard it from his own lips." Jesus was brought before the governor. The governor said, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus replied, "That's what you say." But he didn't answer when the chief priests and elders accused him. Then Pilate said, "Don't you hear the testimony they bring against you?" But he didn't answer. Not even a single word. And the governor was greatly amazed.
Jesus refuses to play the empire's game. In a world where religious freedom is weaponized to justify exclusion, Jesus' silence is a roar. When we stand for DEI, for equity, for the beloved community, the world demands a gotcha answer. Jesus offers no defense because he is not the one on trial. The system is. He stands at the point of impact, watching the machinery of hate roar towards him.
It was customary during the festival for the governor to release to the crowd one prisoner, whomever they might choose. At that time, there was a well-known prisoner named Jesus Barabbas. And when the crowd had come together, Pilate asked them, "Whom would you like me to release to you? Barabbas or the one called Christ?" He knew that the leaders of the people had handed him over because of jealousy. While he was serving as judge, his wife sent this message to him: "Leave that righteous man alone. I've suffered much today in a dream because of him." But the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowds to ask for Barabbas and kill Jesus. The governor said, "Which of the two do you want me to release to you?" "Barabbas," they replied. Pilate said, "Then what should I do with Jesus, the one who is called the Christ?" And they all said, "Crucify him." And Pilate said, "Why? What has he done wrong?" And they shouted even louder, "Crucify him."
The crowd cheers at the carnage. It is easier to watch a disaster than it is to dismantle the tracks. We see this today in the public shaming of the marginalized and the spectacle of cruelty that passes for leadership. The impact is here. The metal is screaming. Jesus absorbs the hate of 1,000 voices and answers with a silence that shatters the earth.
From noon until 3 in the afternoon, the whole earth was dark. At about 3, Jesus cried out with a loud shout, my God, why have you forsaken me?" After hearing him, some standing there said, "He's calling Elijah." One of them ran over and took a sponge full of vinegar and put it on a pole, and he offered it to Jesus to drink. But the rest of them said, "Let's see if Elijah will come and save him." Again, Jesus cried out with a loud shout. Then he died. Look, the curtain of the sanctuary was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook, rocks split, and the bodies of many holy people who had died were raised. After Jesus' resurrection, they came out of their graves and went into the holy city, where they appeared to many people. When the centurion and those who were with him, who were guarding Jesus, saw the earthquake and what had just happened, they were filled with awe, and they said, "Certainly, this was God's Son." That evening, a man named Joseph came. He was a rich man from Arimathea. He had become a disciple of Jesus. He came to Pilate and asked for Jesus' body. And Pilate gave him permission to take it. Joseph took the body, wrapped it in a clean linen cloth, and laid it in his own new tomb, which he had carved from the rock. And afterwards, he rolled a large stone at the door of the tomb, and then he went away.
The noise stops. We are left in the debris of a world that failed its neighbor. We look at the policies that harmed the child and the rhetoric that feared the immigrant. We sit in the black box of this moment. God did not stop the train. God joined the wreckage. We sit here in the silence of the tomb, waiting to see if anything can survive such a collision.
Soon you will go now into the darkness of the aftermath. Don't try to fix the train wreck. Not yet. Just remember, he stayed on the tracks for the stranger, for the child, and for you.